Hi everyone, welcome to VARC with Gaurav. In this video, we will take a look at one of the previous CAT question papers. Not exactly the entire VARC section, but specifically slot third's first RC passage. Okay, as we know that there are 4 RC passages asked these times at a time in one of the slots of the exam. One by one, we will take a look at each passage in the videos that I'm going to make. So in this video, we are taking a look at CAT 22 slot 3 first RC passage. Okay, so without any further delay, let's deep dive into it. Okay, so this passage actually has a strong foundation in history, and people having a bit of background knowledge related to European history or standard terms such as Orientalism, Renaissance would be able to get somewhat of an edge in solving this passage. But nonetheless, it is not that you are totally handicapped if you're not aware about these words. Okay. For your ease of understanding, I have highlighted some of the important words that are needed to be comprehended correctly when attempting this passage. This is the glossary that I've put together for you. The words are highlighted. I would strongly recommend that you be very clear about the words and their meanings, such as Orient, Romanticism. Actually, not that important, Romanticism here. What exactly was Renaissance? I will drop the Wikipedia page links of these terms, Renaissance, Romanticism, Orient, in the description box. Please make sure to check it out if you have the time and curiosity for it. Being aware of such terms comes in really handy when attempting CAT RC passages, and the evidence is right before. Okay, this is an actual CAT question, and again, something not asked very long ago, exactly last year's questions. Okay, so let's go ahead and try to determine what the passage is talking about. Okay. So in the first paragraph, the author is saying that European people tried to interpret Indian past. Okay, interpretations of the Indian past, they tried to do it. However, what happened is they already had some ideas or thoughts regarding Indian culture, history, about the geographical area they used to refer to as the Orient. What exactly is the Orient? When this word comes to your mind, you should immediately imagine India, China, and Southeast Asia countries like, let's say, Thailand, Myanmar, maybe a bit of Indonesia here and there. Okay, all that part, basically Eastern cultures, which are looked from the perspective of Western countries or Western culture. Okay, so these guys, these European guys, already had some ideas and thoughts regarding Indian and Chinese culture, and when they studied Indian culture, those thoughts, those ideas were already influencing them. Okay. And the other is saying that they did not take a lot of attempt, they did not take a lot of effort to deep dive into Indian history, to understand the context, to understand कि एक इंडियन बंदा खुद के कल्चर को कैसे समझेगा या खुद के कल्चर की तरफ कैसे खुद देखता है. So that is why it related to a bit of disconnection in the way Indian culture or Indian lifestyle was actually studied traditionally. Okay, so I have explained, highlighted this word disjuncture in the glossary also. It means a disconnection. Okay, the author has put out his opinion over here. Slightly, author is not happy about the way that these guys did their job. He has highlighted this by saying little, meaning that European guys did not take a lot of effort. Okay, moving ahead in the second paragraph, the narrative is slightly interesting, although not heavily important with respect to the questions. In short, I'll try to explain you in this form of infographic. Okay, so in Europe, what you had is some people favoring the thought process known as Romanticism, and they were opposed to what we call as Neoclassicism. Now, what these two thought processes stand for, I've highlighted before you here, explained briefly. So effectively, Romanticism people, they are a bit tired of science, rationality, logic in every single thing. They want an emphasis on emotions, feelings, a bit of abstraction. तो इनको लग रहा था कि यार जो ओरिएंट से जो थॉट प्रोसेस, जो ओरिएंट कंट्रीज की फिलॉसफी है, वो हमारे काम आ जाए. एंड थ्रू दैट वी विल ट्राई टू रिफॉर्म आवर यूरोपियन सोसाइटी. दैट वाज देयर. Okay, it is highlighted over here. It was believed that this Oriental Renaissance, a new Renaissance will happen, influenced by Oriental thought process, would liberate European thought process from a lot of rigidity, a lot of emphasis on discipline and rationality. Okay, So that is why very famous guys, even such as William Wordsworth and all, these guys, they turn to nature and to fantasy, their thought process about the Orient. कि अच्छा यार, इंडियन और चाइनीज कल्चर में कुछ ऐसी बातें जो हम यूज कर सकते हैं हमारा एजेंडा पुश करने। ओके, ऑल राइट, फेयर इनफ, मूविंग अहेड। Now, what the author says in the third and fourth paragraph is very important to the questions that are going to follow. Author says कि ठीक है, कुछ आपके पास में romanticism वाले बंदे हैं, they are giving a lot of emphasis to Oriental thought process, but gradually even that faded out. Okay, it changed, and gradually what thought process took root in Europe was that okay, Oriental civilization, Indian Chinese culture were once great, good, but today it is Europe which is superior. Okay, and that is how they looked at Indian culture, Indian history with that perspective. Okay, a lot of superiority complex coming in European thought process. So what they looked at India, or what they looked at Indian past, was something which author is highlighting here, and he's strongly disapproving whatever is happening. What does the author say? First of all, he has used a very taunting way of writing it, so-called discovery of India by European people. It was done through very selected literature in Sanskrit. Okay, we know that there is a lot of literature in India in Sanskrit which explains ancient history and everything. But European people are cherry picking there. They are looking at only very selected works and thus developing a very blinkered view of Indian society. Another mistake that they are doing is that a huge time period of 3000 years or even more than that, they are painting it with the same brush. They are saying that for 3000 years, India was unchanging, Indian culture was the same. Author says कि ये बात गलत है. Okay, ये जो thought process है, it is wrong, very wrong. And actually what happened is the European people again ended up having a thought process, again ended up having a mentality where they think that yaar Indian culture जो है ना, it is दिन रात bothered with some abstract stuff, it is bothered with some religious stuff, and no attention is given in Indian culture to tangible aspects of life. Now from tangible aspects you can think like the in Europeans think that Indians don't give weightage to things such as scientific progress, social progress, economy, blah blah blah. जो चीजें आप गिन सकते हो. Tangible means something that you can weigh, something that you can actually count. So Europeans think that Indian culture is completely immersed or bothered only with abstract and non-tangible aspects of life. Tangible चीजें like infrastructure, social progress, economy, blah blah blah, ये गिनती नहीं होती इंडिया में. Okay. So what happened is कि German thought process, German Romanticism pushed this image of India. और ये हुआ that for a lot of Europeans, what happened is India started becoming a very mystical place. ओहो भाई, हर चीज वहां जो होती है, everything has a complex symbolism, whatever happens in India, even though it might be something very irregular. तो इस पर से और एक thought process create हो गई, which author says that people started portraying Indian values as being spiritual, okay, and European values as materialistic. And this was a strong separation which was emphasized. The word dichotomy has been used. It means separation. So a separation in values was emphasized. Author says where India was portrayed as a spiritual place, European values and place were portrayed as materialistic. And now author says something about this. Author says कि ये जो भी हुआ इसके अंदर में आप अगेन फिर से कोई अटेम्प्ट नहीं कर रहे हो to put together these materialistic values, this materialistic thought process with the reality of Indian society. So through this part, the author is highlighting कि यूरोपियन लोगों ने जो थॉट प्रोसेस बना लिया इंडिया को लेकर, ये गलत है. इंडिया, Indian culture focused on tangible aspects, but you guys are not making an attempt to put these two values together in Indian context, not trying to understand Indian reality with these two values together in place. And मजे की बात ये that this blinkered thought process, this separation of Indian values and European values, it was endorsed even more strongly by a lot of Indian people also, or rather by a section of Indian. So this is kind of even more surprising. So effectively what you have is India being pushed as a spiritual place, Europe being pushed as a materialistic place. And what happened is ये जो separation किया गया, it ended up being a consolation for some Indian intellectual people. Regarding what? That Europe has technical superiority. Western countries have that technical knowledge or upper hand. They came to Asia, colonized Asian countries, and उससे ego तो hurt हो गया ना. Okay. तो जो ईगो हर्ट हुआ था, वो ईगो हर्ट जो हुआ है, जो घाव आया है, उसके ऊपर एक हीलिंग ऑइंटमेंट लगा दिया भाई ये थॉट प्रोसेस ने. कौन सी? दैट ब्रो, इंडिया इज अ स्पिरिचुअल प्लेस एंड यूरोप इज अ मटेरियलिस्टिक प्लेस. ओके, so this was something which acted as a healing ointment, author says, for a lot of Indian intellectual people, and they ended up believing this thought process very strongly, this separation between Indian and European values and thought. Once again, rounding off the entire passage, author has throughout the passage dismissed all these views. He is clear cut saying कि जो भी viewpoint बना है, it is blinkered, it is biased, coming out of not doing enough good solid research into Indian culture. All this thought process is the result of you painting Indian culture with the same brush, not delving into the details. Okay? Only selected literature को देखकर आप ये सब viewpoint बना चुके हैं. ठीक है? So with that in mind, let's jump into the question straight away. Okay. Very first question, again aligned with author's thought process, that author would recommend all of these except किस चीज के लिए? That you should gain a more accurate understanding of a culture of a nation's history. Okay, so it is very straightforward to understand. Author recommends going into detail, reading as much as possible, very widely, and secondly, don't view things from your own platform, from your vantage point. Okay, try to understand सामने वाले का भी thought process. Okay, all of these things author has emphasized in multiple different areas of the passage. So one by one, we'll start kicking out options which are not the correct answer. Please remember, we are hunting for an except option. So that means 3 options will be such that which are recommended by the author, which the author will agree with. Those are not going to be an answer. One option which the author has not spoken about anywhere or might even be opposed to the author, that is probably the answer in this question. Okay, so we'll start in the reverse manner. Option D, examine the complex reality of that nation's society. 100% recommend करेगा author ये. Okay, last second paragraph, penultimate paragraph, author has mentioned कि यार please juxtapose these values with the reality of Indian society. You guys didn't do it, इसलिए तो ये सब गलत interpretation आ चुका है. So this is something author would recommend, not the answer. Option C, read widely in the country's literature. Very straightforward. You can infer from this part, which I'm making an arrow right now on left hand side. European people studied India through very selected literature in Sanskrit. बहुत कम sources, बहुत limited sources से पढ़ाई की. Wrong. Author does not like this. He would recommend कि आप widely study करो. So not the answer. Option B, very good. Examine own beliefs and biases. You can infer this very nicely from the first paragraph itself, where the author is saying that when this guy started looking at Indian past, they were influenced by their own concerns and interests. Already जो उनके ideas बन चुके थे about history, civilization and Eastern cultures, उसके influence में वो इंडिया का पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं, which is again leading to this sort of handicap, wrong opinions coming out. Hence, author would recommend option B strongly. So naturally, answer becomes option A. Author recommends that you should be able to grasp cultural differences, but nowhere is he mentioning or even explaining what is meant by oppositional framework. Okay, by reading this passage, we do not get a comprehensive, solid idea as to what is meant by oppositional framework. That is why this becomes the answer clear cut, because BCD are strongly recommended by the author himself, or maybe even herself. We don't know who has written. Okay. All right. So I hope that you have understood this question. If you have any doubt, please drop them in the comment section. We'll be glad to help you. Moving ahead now. Okay. It can be inferred from the passage, author is not likely to support. Okay, so we are going to hunt for an option which the author will possibly disagree. Okay, possibly disagree. ठीक है. Option A, India's culture has evolved over the centuries. Definitely, he will agree with it. That is why he is decrying. He is not happy with understanding Indian culture as unchanging for 3,000 years, the way Europeans did it. He's not happy with it. He recommends option A. He will agree with it, not the answer. B, Orientalist view of Asia, okay, fired the imagination of some Western poets. Definitely, we have the example of William Wordsworth going on here, and these guys think यार Orientalism से ना हमारे यूरोप में यूरोपियन सोसाइटी में हम रिफॉर्म ला सकते हैं. बिल्कुल सही बात है. Author would agree with this. Not answer. Okay. Option D, jumping places now. Indian culture acknowledges the material aspects of life. Definitely, author agrees with this. That is why he is once again not happy with this dichotomy which was portrayed. कि यूरोपियन सोचते हैं कि इंडिया स्पिरिचुअल और हम मटेरियलिस्टिक. ऑथर सेज कुछ तो अटेम्प्ट करो कि दोनों वैल्यूज इंडियन रियलिटी के साथ में अप्लाई करके देखो, एंड यू विल फाइंड अ सिचुएशन कि नहीं, इंडिया स्पिरिचुअल तो है ही है, बट साथ ही साथ यू विल ऑल्सो फाइंड मटेरियलिस्टिक एस्पेक्ट्स. It is you Europeans who have made this big error in interpretation. So option D, endorsed by the author, he will agree with it. That's why not the answer. Option C, okay. India became a colony, although it matched the technical knowledge of the West. No. In the last paragraph, author has accepted this, that there was an opinion, there was a thought process where, yes, because of West ka technical superiority, they ended up successfully colonizing Asia and other parts of it. Okay, he has agreed to it. What he is not happy with is that Indian intellectual ने ये बात एक्सेप्ट कर ली थी, वो स्पिरिचुअल और मटेरियलिस्टिक वाली, और उस चीज से वो थोड़ा सा शांत बैठ गए कि हाँ चलो ठीक है, हमारे घाव पे मलहम की तरह काम कर रहा है. They accepted it as a consolation. Author is not happy with that consolation type situation. Okay, so option C is something that the author will disagree, because it says कि India और Western countries technical matter में match होते हैं. Nowhere has he mentioned. Okay, that is why answer becomes C. I hope that this question is clear to you. It was very straightforward, although critical reasoning question about agree, disagree, but not heavyweight question. Moving ahead. Okay. In the context of the passage, all of the following statements are true except, okay, slightly crazy. We have three statements which are going to be true. One statement may be very possibly false, or maybe something that we do not have an idea of. So that option is going to be answer. Okay. Coming to option A, Indian text influenced Orientalist scholars. Definitely it did. Okay. You have people looking at Orientalism, you have this classicism wale poets, sorry, my bad, Romanticism wale poets. You also have given over here Orientalist scholars. I have moved to the first paragraph right now. Orientalist scholars studied Indian languages with selected Indian scholars. So yes, they had the influence of Indian text on them. But eventually क्या हुआ वो तो बात अलग है. But option A तो सही है. So this is not our answer. Option B, Orientalist scholarship influenced Indians. 100% correct. I'll highlight it for you. It is actually mentioned in the penultimate paragraph, last second line. Highlighting it with blue color now. This theme was even more firmly endorsed by a section of Indian opinion. Okay, so yes, people ended up believing these things in India. So option B, true as per the passage, not the answer. Next, option C, इंडिया का स्पिरिचुअलिज्म सर्व्ड एज अ साल्व. साल्व का मीनिंग ग्लॉसरी में एक्सप्लेन्ड है, हीलिंग ऑइंटमेंट. ओके, जख्म पे मरहम, समथिंग लाइक दैट. ओके, फॉर यूरोपियन कोलोनाइजर. दिस इज वेयर दिस ऑप्शन कोलैप्सेस. ओके, कोलोनाइजर्स के लिए नहीं. व्हाट शुड बी रिटन ओवर हियर इज इंडियन इंटेलेक्चुअल. उनके लिए ये थॉट प्रोसेस स्पिरिचुअलिज्म वाला एक मरहम की तरह काम. यूरोपियन कोलोनाइजर्स के लिए नहीं. So that is why this option becomes the right answer. Anyway, going to option D, Orientalist people ka understanding of Indian history was linked to colonial concerns. Yes, 100% true. Please refer to the very first sentence of the passage. First para, first sentence, you will get this statement. Okay. So very straightforward database question. I hope that it is clear. My bad. It should be cross over here. Okay. All right. So option C, third, becomes the correct answer. Okay. Moving ahead, I hope that this is clear to you. And it goes without saying, please drop a like in the or a comment in the comment section if you like this video, or if you want any kind of improvement, any additional inputs from my end. More than enough, more than glad to help you out. Please do that. And if you like this video, please press the like button. Okay. I am shamelessly pushing forward my agenda like any other random YouTuber out there. Anyway, let's go ahead. Question 4 is here. Last question. Which of the following styles of research is most similar to? Okay. We want to find a similarity. We want to find an analogy. Kiske saath mein? The way Orientalist scholars tried to understand Indian history and culture. Okay. Very good question. Author has mentioned, बहुत गिनी चुनी चीजों को देखकर, very limited resources का study करके, people tried to interpret Indian history and culture, especially the European side. Okay, so you want a situation where very limited resource is being used to develop a very broad understanding. ठीक है, मतलब आप देख रहे हो बहुत छोटे डेटा सेट के पास में और बहुत बड़ी बड़ी बातें करते हैं. You want a situation like that. Okay. So option A, let's take a look at it. What does option A say? Studying artifacts excavated at the palace. Okay. All right. You have artifacts, meaning old stuff coming out, getting dug out from the ground. To understand lifestyle of those who lived there. Okay. So this option actually is something very wholesome, which the author will agree with, will be happy about. Why? Because you're looking at something and drawing conclusion only about people who lived there. You're not drawing conclusion about कि वो पूरे ही एरिया के लोग कैसा रहते थे, या फिर वो पूरा देश या वो पूरा कल्चर ही कैसा काम करता था. ऐसा नहीं हो रहा है. Very limited resource is being looked at and very limited conclusions are being arrived at. So this is something not similar to what is going on in passage. Not the answer. Please remember, once again I am repeating, you're looking for a situation where limited evidence is being looked at and very broad statements are being put out. Okay. Reading 18th century accounts, option B, by travelers to India to see how the travelers themselves, viewed Indian life and culture at that time. Absolutely nothing to do with the method explained in passage. Option B is something where you as a scholar are just reading something for the sake of curiosity or knowledge. कि कोई ट्रैवलर आया इंडिया में, उसने इंडिया को कैसा देखा, उसने वो लिख दिया और आप बस वो पढ़ रहे हो. एंड ऑफ स्टोरी. इट्स नॉट लाइक यू आर डेवलपिंग एन आइडिया अबाउट इंडिया फ्रॉम दैट ट्रैवलर का. ये नहीं बोला है ऑप्शन बी में. ऑप्शन बी इज सिंपली stating that you are reading something. End of story. So once again, not similar to the methodology going on in the passage. Third option, actually very wholesome. Author अगर ऑप्शन सी देख ले तो बहुत खुश हो जाएगा. Reading about life of early American settlers and also later migration happening to understand how American culture evolved. So option C is something author is recommending कि तुम समय के साथ में अलग अलग स्टेजेस को अलग अलग तरीके से देखो. Do not paint a long time period with the same brush, which option C is, doing. So that is why it is not similar to what the passage is doing. Hence, 3 options kicked out. Option D is actually a very straightforward winner here. One of those rare cases where you read an option and immediately उस पे दिल आ जाता है कि हाँ यार ये आंसर है बिल्कुल. क्यों? Because it says कि आप बहुत limited चीज देख रहे हो, Hollywood action movies, और उसके दम पे you are deriving an understanding about today's America. Wow. Just imagine that. You look at a few Hollywood movies, and you are drawing conclusions about the entire culture as such. Okay, talk about a bit of hypocrisy. But yes, this is what is happening in the passage as per the author, and D is something very, very much in line with it. Hence, it becomes the correct answer. Okay, So I hope that you have understood the passage and all the 4 questions that came with it in the exam. I hope that you have liked the video. If any doubt, please put them in the comment section. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye. Thank you.